love that. As scary as that is.
No, I hate doing it when I have to watch myself, but it is actually
helpful.
Really useful. Yeah.
Totally.
So, are you able to share your screen?
I think so. Disabled. It says host disabled participant share screen. Name.
Okay, let me fix that.
Go back. Sure.
MK, you should be good to do it now.
Okay.
Is it working for you?
Did it pop up? I can't tell on my end because now it just shows me all my stuff.
Not yet. But do you see the thing that says screen share? Do you see that? Yeah. Okay, so you click on that and then select the screen that you want to use. There we go. You got it.
Can you all see that?
And MK, I'm going to be timing you. Okay. And I'm just going to let you go through and do it all. And then I'll let you know where the time lands on the other end.
Okay.
Okay. Well, let me get my timer out.
No worries. You just let me know when you're ready.
Okay. Are you ready? Yeah. Okay. Floor is yours.
Well, hello, everybody, ladies, gentlemen, and non-binary out there. I am MK, and my company is MK LLC. What's amazing about my company is we are a company that is a film, TV production company. So we have the luxury and the opportunity to not only wow you at home, but have the luxury of producing our own TV shows, film, music videos, and other video and media content that we have in our company. So you can see that on the next slide. So one thing's great about me, I've been in the entertainment industry for the past 20 years, besides being a professional dancer, an actor, singing and doing numerous of things. So very well have myself wrapped in the entertainment industry and have connected with quite a few different networks over the course of my extensive 20 years, along meeting with some amazing people on top of that, and getting to collaborate and come up with amazing ideas for my company to wow you guys at home. And so the reason why I finally started my company, it's a brand new company, started January of 2022, this brand new year, is there was unfortunately a market for customers that wasn't really just hitting. You know, when you have like those amazing horror movies, I'm not gonna lie, as an adult, they scare me even still to this day, even at night. It's really hard for me to watch. So like, I love horror, but I needed more of the comic approach. And you don't really see that many TV shows with that nice in between of that slice right down the middle. It's always too much horror, too much comedy. That's why my show and my company and I, we've created a show to help all my customers out there. We have a paranormal action theme show, rather than just getting on just a little bit. That's going to happen on a regular basis at a screen near you, as well as another show that I've looked that's really inspired me is nobody really talks about, you know, the legalization of marijuana much. They kind of briefly touch upon the subject, but with my company, we creatively cross those boundary lines and mix it up a little bit with some of the activity we have going on. Another thing that we do have, there's so many competitive game shows, but there's never really one where it's like the viewers really get to pick some of the craziness the contestants get to do. That's right. I got a show for you. So don't shimmy away. You want to stay and watch the amazingness that's coming your way. So with that being said, what we do here at MK Wilson LLC, what we provide a variety of different services in the scope of, you know, the film and entertainment industry. And in that industry, it's ever growing, especially no matter how the economy is. Entertainment's never down. Music never stops. Movies never stop. TV never stops. It's ever growing. No matter how bad the economy is, you're definitely going to see something, especially now where things are more online than being actually in the cinema view with everything that's happened recently. So building these shows that we do have, we're able to have more online views for you at home. So you never have to wait. You can always let it play. You don't have to wait the next month for Netflix to release it. It's coming to you. So what we're doing to get really known out there, the target markets that we're really hitting are, BIPOC. One of my shows is a whole BIPOC cast. It's very rare for a lot of shows nowadays to have just a BIPOC cast. And so targeting the BIPOC area here, specifically in Philadelphia. Philadelphia has like about 1.579 million people. So doing my research and like finding just in Philadelphia city alone, rather than all of Pennsylvania, the legalization market of people and that small support group that's coming through, reaching out to them to get their support, as well as all social media. Social media is a huge, huge thing now. Like everybody's on their phone, everything's at your screen view. And so is me. Well, along with all my company has to show, along with people that believe in different paranormal believings, we're reaching out to them. There's a huge community here in Philadelphia. You've got Eastern State, so many things have happened here. Philadelphia is one of the oldest cities in America and one of the founders. So you've got a lot of historical things here that people really care about, especially with the phenomenon. Another target we're going for is the LGBT community that we're marketing to. There's only 4% of the LGBT in the city of Philadelphia alone. Being part of the LGBT, we definitely really want to market out to the fellow community and get them to see shows where they're more in along with the limelight now that, evolution is growing with centuries to be more inclusive. So those are our target markets that we're really hitting out there. So how things are going to go about with getting the target market and really getting them that attention view is all our stuff that we're going to be selling, the shows and everything like that is going to go through Twitch TV in their program, as well as YouTube in their program, but other avenues, not just that alone. My website is going to be selling different merchandise, different products that we have, as well as through DistroKid and Apple Music, along with Spotify. Going through that and releasing sounds, our music, building up that revenue, getting that more out there to the mainstream and even the underground. And also we do have our Indiegogo page going up where we are offering different perks to different backers and supporters for our company and all that company has and the different shows and what we're offering too. So you'll really like it. So with a marketing activity we've got going on, we're entering film festivals to get, the different shows out there, more views for people from all walks of life in different cities. You've got London, you've got California. There's massive film festivals that we can enter to get really that buildup of the audience to really sink in to the shows that we have, as well as the podcasts and music that we're offering. Twitter, having those Twitter blasts, because it is a big social media thing, along with Instagram, Facebook, and Spotify. Again, just really going into the social media route. But besides that, my nice little mouth there, word of mouth, marketing, word of mouth, going to different places, the networks, like I said, I had before, reaching out to different people in the Philadelphia area, really getting in their ear, email blasting them, radio stations we're reaching out to. We plan on making our own brochure. So just in case if you pop in somewhere, you might just see a little MK Wilson on the shelf looking at you. And you definitely should look at it because I'm pretty sure I got a show for you. Don't you worry. So that's how we're really reaching out to our customers and just blasting through. I have an amazing team that's helping me. So with doing that, giving you guys a point of view, with going through Twitch TV and YouTube, they both have different affiliation programs just to kind of give people that view at home. The average Twitch streamer makes about 1 cent per bit. By per bit, it's kind of like per view. And with that being said, there's the subscription with Twitch TV that's $5 a month to just get started, and it builds up there. So on top of that, donations can be given through our Twitch TV. So we're thinking about that as soon as we get up and running. We plan on releasing one of the first shows, the official launch in 2023, when all the post-production said and done. And we're estimating to get to about, in the Twitch partner program, you have to have like a good amount. And we project that within 6 months, we'll definitely be hitting the required target. It's not just for Twitch TV, but also for YouTube as well, because you need 1,000 subscribers, as it says, and 4,000 hours. And trust me, my people are going to be loving this show so much. It's going to pass that 4,000 hour mark. I'm not sweating it within the matter of 6 months. And so that's a really good deal. But besides that, other revenue streams that we're going through is donations through Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, as well as all the other different ones for people that want to donate, money, helping services and stuff like that to help out the MK Wilson LLC company. So we project, especially with the small group that like we did the budget with, that we'll definitely get probably around 3,000 by the end of our 6-month mark period, and then continue that to grow even more for us, leading to even bigger revenue sources, not just for us, but the people that we have too. The major cost right now with having a film production company, if you're not used to entertainment, is equipment majorly, but insurance. Things happen on set, things happen off set. I like to make sure everybody's covered, including myself, getting the permit and licenses. It's for different locations. You can't just show up somewhere and just be like, hey, we're here to shoot. You need the permit. You need licensings for certain places, especially if they're, historic, big time. Definitely need a license. In a lot of the creepy places, you're going to want that license and permit. But besides that, also traveling expenses, major cost, getting my homeboy that's like this, that represents my cast and crew, my staff. It's a lot to get the whole production crew and cast going all to the same place and paying for all that. To get the startup costs, as well as advertising is really the biggest one. Really advertising the social media in the network to really get the word out about MK Wilson and the shows that we do have offered. So those are the major costs that we've been seeing lately that we're looking to get help on. And the milestones, just so you guys have it for what the company is going for. So July, we're officially launching the MK Wilson website. We plan on hiring a marketing consultant to blast all the stuff and help us out with that. The Indiegogo campaign for the company is going to be launched later in August and September. That's when we're going to be hitting you and, soon, with hopefully completing out all that we should be. The first season of The Ghost Investors, which is one of the shows, comedy meets horror meets paranormal action, and as well as the Ghost Invest website being launched for that specific show we have going to. And like I said, probably around the new year of January 2023 is when we'll be officially throwing those amazing shows in your face for you guys to watch and enjoy at home. As well as while that's going on, we're already going to be in the pre-production of season 2 for the Ghost Invest show, as well as giving the online merchandise for the MK Wilson and what we have to offer, and Ghost Invest, the different memorabilias and products you can purchase that'll be made online that you can purchase through the website, and it'll go directly through me, and we'll fill our orders in-house here in Philadelphia is where we're located. And while that's going on, I have at least 4 other different shows that are going to be in pre-production to be ready to go to start releasing come later the 2023 year. And hopefully, I said by June, 6 months from when the initial launch of Ghost Invest, we would be hitting our YouTube and Twitch TVs to get even to the partner bracket, where with the partner bracket, that's where they start adding ads to that. So that builds up your revenue more. So that's where we're seeing that extra increase for us at MK Wilson LLC. So with that being said, my team is myself being the owner, the director, the producer, along with a lot of the everything in the company. I have my 2 amazing co-workers, best friends, and former roommates, Earl and CJ. They are my videographers and editors that are helping me right now, along with some other stuff in the industry that we both, all 3 of us have had wonderful, backings on, and both of them are both in the entertainment industry themselves. Earl has been in the entertainment industry for over 20 years as well. Same thing with CJ, just different avenues. CJ did more of the videographer behind the scenes. Earl is a very popular dancer and choreographer and has been on a lot of film sets too. So between the 3 of us, you have about over 60 years of being in this. We've been using has been the amazing SBDC, Fox Small Business Development Center, with Temple University, as well as the Free Library of Philadelphia, getting all my research, finding all the things to present to you guys, as well as investors that we've been looking up to really research within the Philadelphia community. Besides the sponsors I already have, MK Wilson LLC has a sponsorship that we do give out, different levels that you want to be a part of to be helpful in the company, and different perks as well, like the Indiegogo campaign that we do offer. And what we're asking for as a company, we're asking for $165,000. It would cover the cost of the startup for everything, for the operations. It covers the production equipment, which is quite expensive to be like, really tight niche and cutting edge and very clear and crystal, with like a lot of the CGI too, as well as the travel, paying for my staff, cast and crew, and the advertising expense. Asking for that, what's in return is we plan on giving you all your branding, all your logos will all be featured on everything that MK Wilson produces for every single show for the next 3 years, as well as giving you prime seating and official tickets for the official launch party for each show that MK Wilson will be producing, as well as music, video content, and media. So you will be very featured for the next 3 years, and could add on a renewal after those 3 years.
Is that it? You good?
That is it.
Okay. Bravo, MK. Okay. You can probably minimize it and stop sharing your screen for a little bit here. I may come back to some slides.
Okay.
Okay. I want you to feel really good about what you put together. Okay. I think your energy was great. You were definitely hitting the right notes and the right targets. So feel really good about where you are. Now, I'm going to launch in and give you a ton of feedback. Okay. That is in the interest of making this as good as possible to increase your chances of getting the investment, So I always like to talk about this kind of thing like family. When we're looking on the outside, these are the best people. They are absolutely perfect. You are crazy if you don't engage, partner, whatever. How dare you, blah, blah, blah. And then behind the doors, it's like, nah, you need to do this and you need to do that. And okay? Does that make sense? Okay. So first off, do others have comments? Okay, well, I'm going to get talking, and then you guys should feel free to hop in. Okay, so it was really great the way you started. You had really good energy. I loved how you kind of captured the room. I was caught. You showed me confidence, but also, this point I was talking about last week where it's like, it felt very authentic, right? So be yourself, be energetic. Brittany's saying she'd like to see more of your personality. And I think you started really strong and then it got a little lost along the way. I mean, you brought up some notes about how things were personal. But this is more about personality.
I'll be right back.
Sure. This is more about personality and you being as infectious and exciting as you clearly can be. Okay. That said, and this is kind of a general comment about the slides overall. I think the graphics were a bit of a myth. Okay. I saw what you were doing. Sometimes the fonts were hard to read. It very much looked like, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you had taken some options in PowerPoint or Google Slides, like doing the shadows or how colors were laid out and like the blocking. It felt like that was a template. So I don't know if that's true, but that is kind of how it read. So I didn't love the fonts. Just as a general rule of thumb, when something is on a piece of paper and in front of people, serif fonts like Times New Roman, it's like the T, but it's got a little hook here and there, or, it's got some kind of additions to the letter. Those are called serif fonts. Those are good for pieces of paper and when people are physically reading something. When people are reading something, virtually, electronically, it's a visual, sans serif fonts are the way to go. And sans serif means it's just the letter. And there's lots of different ones. Arial is the most common. It's not my favorite of all the options out there, but if you look at the difference between Arial font and Times New Roman, I think it'll make it really clear to you what the different types are. Okay. And then, and I love that you brought in some pictures, in the second half. So the first half, I felt like there were too many words on the slides, especially early on. We're talking about the content of what your company does. And there were like 3 stars. And then there was like sentences. That was too much text. Okay. And then with the pictures, I thought you were kind of barking up the right tree. There were a couple of slides. If you can go back to the first slide where you start having pictures. Okay. So I had another comment about this. So these pictures all felt really different to me. And when you were talking, I was hopping around trying to understand how they were connecting back to what you were doing, to the point that I was doing that more than listening to you. So when you're putting together slides, any kind of graphic, less tends to be more. Okay, so I would way pull back on these pictures. I would make sure there's more consistency between them in terms of the style of picture. Like, I get it, you got the picture of the ghost hunters. That's really the smallest one. When like that, especially for the first show, which is primarily what you talk about, which makes sense. It's like, oh, right, ghosts. And if you look up to the top right, you see the legalized marijuana picture, and that's really dominating the slide because it's the largest image and it's up on the right. And I think it's fine, that you have, BIPOC comedic scary ghost show, and then you have shows and a message that sort of looks at the positive side, really, of marijuana. And I think that's what you're going for. That was clear. I don't see the connection, right? It's like you lead the pitch with horror movies, ghost hunting, lack of representation, and that's great. And I'm with you, and there's a really strong story there. And then at some point, the marijuana piece just sort of comes in. And when I was listening, I was like, wait, what? Where did that come from? Huh? How does that connect? So you have a couple of options. One, take that out for now. Just take it out. You've got one clear product content area. And you tell that story really well. Or you come back and do a little bit better job of explaining how these things connect to each other. Does that make sense? You can you can unmute yourself.
Oh, okay. Yes, that does make sense. Yeah, I didn't fully I realized I didn't explain that part of it, so it just kind of looks like left out in the open, but that's actually
Right.
part of the show too. Uh,
Okay.
So it
Tell
is,
that story a little bit more. These
yeah, so,
topics are connected. Here's how they connect. You know, I'm bringing in comedy in general. I'm bringing in representation, and you know, marijuana fits in with all of this. There's like these things are all in one bucket. So just make that clearer, because I definitely sort of had a swiveling head at the moment you brought that up. Okay. So at some point you talk about, I think it's in marketing, but you talk about social media. Maybe it was here in social media. You talked about target market. You brought up social media a couple of times. And this is kind of a general comment for when you're talking about social media. You've got a product that is online. And don't take this the wrong way, no doubt that you're going to be using social media.
right.
Obviously, you're primarily going to be using social media. You know, I heard you mention some in-person events and like people have connections with you. That's fantastic, but it's social media, right? So dive a little more specific faster on what channels you're using. Like, I think when you talk about your products and what you do at the start, I think you need to explain, here are the channels where it will appear, right? So YouTube is one piece of that, right? Like YouTube is social media, but there's also Twitch and this kind of thing. I think you mentioned all of that early on. And then when you get into marketing, tell me, is it Instagram? And what are you going to do on Instagram? Is it TikTok? What are you going to do on TikTok? Do you know what I mean? Like, just dive in, one sentence, like, we're going to be using Instagram because that's where we know our target market is. I'm throwing that out. I don't know that that's true. Like, research that and check that out. And here's the type of posts we're going to try to do. You should feel free in this part to talk about how many followers you have. Maybe you've got some strategy. Again, at some point, you're just like listing all the social media channels and you basically list them all. That's a bad strategy. Or, I'm sorry, I'm not. That is not a strategy I would recommend. In a general way, we recommend that you pick one or two channels that where your target audience is going to be. Like, who's your target audience and where are they, whether that's a physical place or an online place. So Facebook might not be the right place for you. Like, you know, if you look at the demographics of who's on Facebook, you know, the 70 plus and the middle-aged moms, like the school teachers, like that might not be your target audience. So it may not make sense with your limited resources being time and money, to you be pouring energy into all of these other channels. So what I usually recommend to clients is go ahead and create accounts everywhere you think there could be, you know, anything possible. Definitely the big five: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn. You definitely need a profile on all five of those, right? So get a profile, set yourself up, contact information, your logo, you know, state what the company is, and then pick one or two that you're going to pour energy into, and those should align with where your customers are, or where, in your case, where your viewers are. Because your customers, which is to say the people who make donations and the people who sponsor, they're going to be driven. Well, there's two messages. Sponsors are going to be driven by how many people are watching it, right? There may be one or two that are compelled by the message, but at the end of the day, for those guys, it's a business decision. So numbers are going to matter. The donations piece is different, right? People are not going to donate because you have 10,000 followers. People are going to donate because they like your content, they like your message, they like your values. I mean, they got to like your content first, right? They have to be willing to watch it, but they're going to be compelled by the content, who you are, the message, the values. That's what's going to drive them to make the decision to give you money. So just kind of keep that in mind. But at the end of the day, you know, sponsors, advertisers, how many people, individuals, or even like individuals who make donations, they're going to be driven by something else, right? So keep that in mind. And I think talk about that triad of things, right? Donations, sponsors, viewers. Keep it clean and keep it tight, because your timing is always going to be too short for what you need to say and how you, like, you're never going to have enough time. Like, even if I gave you 45 minutes today, it would not be enough time, because you don't want to take me into a level of detail that you don't actually have time for. So however long this thing, you know, whatever, however much time you have to do the thing, you want to be keeping it tight. When I am planning presentations, especially something where I've got slides, I've got a text, I've got a very specific plan. If like, for example, if I have 15 minutes, I craft a presentation that's going to take me 12. And then I usually get to 15. Because I give myself space, and no one's ever going to argue if you come in a minute under. You know, if you have 15 minutes and it takes you 5, that's a little like, what? But build some padding for yourself. And again, if your audience is expecting a 15-minute presentation and you use 13 minutes, like, that's fine. It means you knew what you were saying, you got to the point, you were focused.
Good morning.
What was
How are
that?
you?
So let's just check the comments. Okay. So first off, Jacqueline asked, is, you know, where this kind of presentation would be used, and she had one thought about where it could be used. That's true. A couple of things. One, sales pitching is definitely a thing. What our focus is in this class is making a pitch to someone you want to invest in your business. Yeah, absolutely. That can be people who want to write you a check, but it can also be prospective partners. It can be, you know, people you want to promote you, right? So maybe you don't give a pitch to an influencer, but the message is kind of the same, right? So this is something we talk about, which is know your audience, craft your pitch for your audience. So in your case, you're talking about a convention where you'd be speaking to people, know who those people are, know what you're trying to get from them, and craft your presentation to achieve that. MK, it was pretty obvious that you were looking for investors. I would have liked to have seen the slides. The visuals tell me that a little bit more clearly. For example, you're talking about levels of sponsorship, and I'm like, what are they? You know, like, lead sponsor, $25,000, supporting sponsor, $10,000, or whatever it is. Okay, and then our second comment here. Brittany says, I would have loved to have seen a video snap. I thought the same thing. I happen to know, because we've talked before, that you've done the filming. You've got the thing.
Oh yeah, I have a trailer. I do have a trailer. It did not come across my head.
So, you know, in this case, we were shooting for a 5-minute pitch. I wouldn't have a clip that's more than like 15 or 30 seconds, right? If you have 15 minutes, maybe a minute, minute and a half. So time that clip to make sense. Like, don't just lean on the clip to give the presentation, but give me a flavor. So just go and, like, finds, you've done a trailer, you know how to put together little bits that are telling the story, or find, a part of one scene that is telling this, that gives us the flavor of what you're talking about. Because so much of what you're doing is saying, this is what the world has out there. I am proposing something different in a few different ways, right? So show me that. And I know editing is a long, expensive process, but to get together a 30-second clip, that's not nearly as complicated. It might be a pain in the ass. But it's like,
no, it can be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not, once you get it, it's not bad, but it's just a lot of sitting and splicing and adding layers on top of layers. But 30 seconds you can do.
Okay, so you talk about sales channels before revenue streams, and I think that's how I laid it out in the presentation. I think you pretty tightly followed like content, order, which is great. However, in your case, you were talking about sales channels, and I still didn't know how you made money. So I think in your case, in the case of this pitch and what you're trying to do, I think go ahead and tell me how you make money, and then tell me how you distribute it. I think that would have made more sense for me.
Gotcha.
The other thing that I want you to think about explaining, and this is really, really audience specific, but when you talk about donations, give me a little bit of the story about that, because know your audience, right? So they may intuitively, based on their own experience, personal, professional background, know what that means. But, before the last year, when I started working with a lot more creative entrepreneurs, I would have been like, what do you mean you're donating to a company? I don't really understand. So say, common in the creative industry and social media, whatever, it is frequently the case that people make donations to support or make payment to the extent that they want to make, because they're passionate about it. Like I don't create TikTok content, but I stalk many, many others. And when I started seeing clips of people who were like, thank you to all my followers, and they started opening gifts and then talking about money they received, or talking about like, thanks for the money, don't really need it, I'm going to donate it here. Like I didn't know anything about that. Mm-hmm. So think about your audience, and whoever that audience is, do a quick assessment if they're going to understand that or not. To make sure they're on board and like, oh, okay, that is a legitimate revenue stream for this type of business. Okay. Let's see. So Jacqueline, uses a binder with slides and maybe sit down somewhere with them. Can be anywhere and tailored to how you speak in person, over the phone, etc. I get the idea. Just to pitch to get a client. I'm not sure what that means, so let's come back to that. She also said, I'm confused about what the company does. Does she entertain? Or does she provide the means to entertain or promote a business? I didn't kind of get the last, like what she was talking about, but that said, I agree with the fundamental point. I think you could have said quickly in that first slide, a little bit more directly and clearly, because I think you were talking about that, but I don't think the message came across clearly enough. MK Wilson LLC creates shows based on, BIPOC, comedic, horror stories or scary stories, and positive messaging around marijuana. This is what we do. These shows are posted, these shows are viewed on Twitch, YouTube, and just list them. Quick like a bunny, lists them, but it immediately tells me she is making online shows. She's making shows about these topics. They're going to be posted online, and here are where they're going to be posted. I think you can just like cut to the chase right at the top, and then dive into, here's why, here's what the problem is. These things are all missing in the television show industry. Right. And I thought that content was really well done. I thought when you got into solution, I think you could have drawn the line a little bit more directly. Again, but if you clarified right at the top what you do and how people get to it, I think by the time you make that connection between problem and solution, it would have been clearer.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. When you talk about the team, I thought that was great. Don't mention that you were roommates.
Okay.
Talk about their professional qualifications to be involved. The costs, this is a place you could save a lot of time. I know insurance is important. Don't tell me why it's important. I don't care. I know. You could just tell me travel. Again, I know I'm looking at a video production. I know you got to travel. So just tell me what that is. I think you would be better served in that context by listing the major expenses and putting the number to them, so that when you get to the end, to that 165 number, which I think is pretty high, at least it won't be a surprise about what that money covers.
Mm-hmm.
When you're talking about resources and talking about prospective investors, sponsors, if you are making this pitch to those people, throw in, like you, my sponsors, like you. I think that would kind of personalize it a bit. Yeah, okay, I've talked for a lot. There have been some good comments in the chat. Please feel free to turn your microphones on if you want to talk. Okay, do you have questions? I also should note that was 14 minutes.
I thought it was long.
Which is fine. 15 minutes is a common length of time for a pitch. And the pitch you put together, what's nice about a pitch deck, especially if you don't have a lot of words on the slides, is you can kind of put it up and then you get behind the house and write out your script depending on how much time you have.
No, I definitely, and it's funny because the stuff that you're saying, I do have the notes, but putting it in full screen, it doesn't show me my notes to back up on.
So what I do, and I do this in person or online presentations, I print out, this is a piece of paper I'm writing on, but I print, okay, but you know what you need to do? That needs to be in giant font.
Okay.
So you can look, and what I do is I keep it just right here. Just out of the line of sight behind the podium, or just out of the line of sight for the camera. So you can look down, your eyes don't move that much. So it's not very obvious. Giant font that you can quickly read. Use highlighter, draw a big red line where you switch slides. And for me, that's worked out really well. And again, memorize it as best you can, but keep it on hand, and it just has to be here. Right? And I'm not trying to read my handwriting. I'm not trying to anything, just super clear. And even if it's bullet points, big font, so you can see it and read it really easily. And that helps also to keep you on time. Like, okay, I spent half an hour figuring out what I wanted to say on this slide. Don't go off script.
Yeah, right. No, that's
Because
also
you
like,
time yourself based on what you're trying to say. So yeah. Okay.
I was like, darn, I was like, oh, I was like, can't see that. I was like, I go with my memory.
Which, um, I'm gonna try to get your name right.
It's Yama.
Yamakana.
Yama Thomas, yes.
Okay.
Hi, I just have a quick question. So as I'm working on my pitch, and like I said, my first phase of my business right now is primarily community building. But apart from getting the following and getting that initial interest, we also want to be able to, I guess you would call it like a cliffhanger, to kind of get people excited for what's yet to come kind of thing. Is that a good idea to include something like that, like a coming soon in the pitch, or stay tuned, or just watch kind of thing? Or should we just, re-pitch as things progress, or adjust our pitch as things progress?
Well, definitely you want to adjust it along the way. As you move to another stage in the game, when MK is in post-production, adjust that pitch. Say, to date, here's the stuff we've done. Here's what's coming up. I think it really depends on your audience and what you're trying to get out of them. So if you're trying to get people engaged and following you, or, interested in an event, or calling you up to talk to hear more about the space and what you offer, then yeah, the cliffhanger could work. If you're looking for an investor, they want to know the whole story. So think about your audience and what you're trying to get out of them. And this is like a life thing. Like, when you're planning for something, where are you trying to get to? And then back into that. So I think it really depends on your audience. Yeah. And, as far as future plans go, again, for the investor, for the developer that you want to cut you a break on a space, for the company, if that's the case, you can put some dots. You can have some content somewhere that says, like, here's our focus now, looking into the future, here are some of our opportunities or interests, or, strategies that we're looking into.
Okay.
And that's the same kind of thing I recommend for people with business plans. What I see a lot of folks do is try to throw everything into the descriptions of what they do, even if it's part of a 10-year plan, or maybe I'm not sure. So what I suggest in general is start with what you know you're going to do at the outset. And then if there are options, maybe this, maybe that, we're trying to see if this is going to work. It's kind of it's a separate section that says future services, future products, So when you're in community building stage right now. So what you want is engagement. So you're going to tell that story in the engagement piece. And then, the future is we have our physical space. We have a physical space in Philadelphia. These are the types of folks we anticipate, that we're trying to get into that space.
Okay.
And be more specific than just the BIPOC piece, right? So it's, because you only mentioned, I feel like you only mentioned, like, when you were talking, well, you were just sharing, whatever. But yeah, make the connection and tell a little bit more. Is it creatives? Is it tech entrepreneurs? Is it the mom and pop shops? Is it people opening nail salons or beauty salons or grocery stores, kind of more traditional industries? Is that what you're looking for? Are you looking for people who are trying to push the envelope in different ways that have not been supported well enough because of their gender and or color of their skin. Tell that story, because that can be a really, really compelling story.
Okay.
And then you drive it home to your audience, especially those investors. This is important. It is imperative that this type of resource exists. People have been marginalized and denied access to resources. And what we are trying to do is change that, that experience, that journey for the people who will come in and be part of our community and part of our physical space. And if I'm totally off point that there isn't a physical space, then be really clear about what it is. Is it an online community? If it is a physical space, you talk about, so just tell the story of what you're offering if it's not a physical space, because when I think co-working and incubator, that definitely sounds like a physical place. So if it's not, be clear about that. If it is, be clear about that, but people will get that much easier.
Oh, I was on mute the whole time. I said,
oh, okay.
Regina. I'm talking and it's on mute. But I thank you. I appreciate that feedback. Myself and my co-founder, I've been taking notes, so we'll have a couple of things to discuss for when we reach out.
Lots of things to discuss. Regina, you have your hand up.
Yes, I hope you don't hear kids in the background.
No, we're good.
All right, thank you so much. And I'm learning so much from all of this. And the one that just did the presentation, it was just really nice how she just took time and she did everything. But I want to ask a question. Is it a certain, and you might have answered this last week or earlier because I was in and out with kids. Is it a certain speed, and I hope I'm saying the right word, when we presenting the presentation? Do we supposed to go a little slower, or like what do you recommend for that? Like, how do we when we doing the presentation, doing it, do we should talk a little faster or slower? What pace do you recommend?
Fast is almost never a good idea, because you're talking so fast and then people don't really have a chance to pay attention to what you're saying. And then here's the new slide and I'm going to talk about this other thing and isn't that exciting, and then this thing and it's really hard to follow. People are just trying to keep up. So you want to aim for slower. The most important thing is that you clearly articulate your words. You want to bring variation to your tone. You don't always want to be talking like everything is just fine and now I'm going to go on to the next slide. Like, you want to have the tone of your voice be dynamic. To my point about timing, plan your pitch, speaking slowly for less time than you're going to have, because often when people are nervous, they speak faster. So you kind of want to like plan for very slow, so that when your nerves kick in and you start talking faster, you're still in range that people follow you. You want to move at a good pace as you're moving through content. You don't want to spend too long on something, right? You want to keep a good pace so people remain interested in what you're saying, right? So finding the balance between those things. But in terms of speed specifically, aim for slow, and don't forget all of the other pieces. And, as I talked to MK about having her script nearby, and so that she can easily reference it and know what's going on, you don't want to sound like you're reading something. Because when you're reading something, you're a little less engaged. Your tone tends to be more, monotone. And and it can start to become a little dry. And that's part of the balancing act of having a lot of text on your slides. I mean, I can't speak for the whole world. I read faster than most people speak. So you start talking and I'm just reading those slides, and then I'm done reading those slides, and then I'm bored because you're just reading them and I already read them. Does that make sense? Because you want me listening to you. You do not want me reading your slides.
Yes, that was so helpful.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
And what about, like, say when we want to do the pitch in the class, but it's something that I want to pitch, but I don't want to bring it out to the world yet. I'm afraid that someone might steal that idea. Although I am Evoke Thought LLC, but it's more to it than diversity and inclusion. It's like a network. So I want to do a pitch. I want to practice this pitch, but I'm afraid to bring it to the class. Not that anybody in here would do it, but I just don't want the idea out there yet until I guess I go through the right trademarks, or at least reach the right people.
Okay. So let me say a few points on that. One, everyone coming to this class already has their own idea of what they're trying to do. And they have come to that because they are passionate, they're excited, they have professional expertise. Like when clients come to me, and I've had a couple of clients over the years who are like, I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing because you're going to steal my idea. Well, first off, you've already signed it. We already have a contract where I have said I'm not going to talk to anybody about what you do beyond my colleagues. And I have, already committed that I am not going to steal your idea, and I can't invest in your business. Also, when you're talking to me specifically, your consultant, and this is just by way of example, right? If I wanted to be an entrepreneur, I would be an entrepreneur. As it stands for me in my life right now, I need stability. I need good health insurance. I need as close to a regular work schedule as I can get. That's my value right now. I love what you're doing. I hope it's profitable. It sounds cool, but I don't want to be an entrepreneur right now. That's not where my life is, right? 10 years from now, I anticipate reassessing that. However, do hear what you're saying. So I don't think that would happen in the context of this group of people, but we never know who's lurking around. There's people here who are observing. You get into a larger group, there's people who are hanging out, no video, no comments, you don't know. So do I think something will happen with that? No. Do I understand your concern? Yes. So if you're very nervous about putting it out in a public forum, I say, let me know when you want to practice, and we'll get together and you can practice with me, and maybe I'll bring another colleague or two in.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Anything else for now? Okay, well, I want to thank MK very much. She stepped out and she did it in a room where she was going to be the only one presenting. And that is hard, and that is scary, and that is intimidating. So MK, bravo.
Oh, thank you so much. It was rough, but thank you.
So if anyone, it'll be in a follow-up email that you guys get, but if anyone is interested in going, if you're not already engaged with the consulting process and you're interested in that, what I'd like you to do is send me an email, and I will send you the welcome email that we send to consulting clients. If you're not already engaged in consulting, you registered and you got confirmation for this class or whatever. If you're interested in consulting, there's different information that you need. So you're already in our system, just send me an email, and then I can go in and prompt and send off that welcome email, which will give you all the information that you need to get started. Okay. So I'll hang out for a couple more minutes. Carmen, our wonderful training coordinator put a link in the chat for a survey. Please do that. It's a requirement of our funders, and we genuinely care about your feedback. It's 100% anonymous. So please do it, and please be frank in your responses. Okay. So the links there in the chat. You'll probably also get this in a follow-up email. So if you don't do it now, we'll still pester you. So I want to say thank you, and I wish you all a wonderful rest of your weekend. Okay, take care. Thank you, Carmen.
Thank you so much, Erica. Have a good one, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.